Welcome to News You Can Use, a PA Stands Up podcast. We discuss news and politics in Pennsylvania and what you can do about it. I'm your host, Pele IrgangLaden, organizing director at PA Stands Up. I use he, him pronouns, and today we'll be talking about public safety with our special guest, Lehigh Valley Stands Up organizer, Ronald Johnson. I want to tell you a little bit about PA Stands Up, as this is our first episode. Pennsylvania Stands Up has 5 chapters across eastern and central Pennsylvania, in northeast PA, in Berks County, Lancaster, the Lehigh Valley, and the Capital Region. Each of these areas is important to build a strong base of people that work to create change in their communities. In the last couple of years, we have contacted millions of Pennsylvanians to make big changes in our communities, like the Whole Home Repair campaign, getting a Democratic majority in the State House, and doing important voter education work in our communities. We want to first give a shout out to our sponsors of the News You Can Use podcast. News You Can Use pod is brought to you by listeners like you who have become recurring dues-paying members at Pennsylvania Stands Up. Members of our organization get to vote on candidate endorsements, have access to trainings and leadership, and a strong ownership in building a Pennsylvania that works for all of us. Today on the show, we're excited to have Ronald Johnson, regional organizer at Lehigh Valley Stands Up. He's going to share about the work that he's been doing right here in the Lehigh Valley to elect transformative candidates and get an exciting question on the Allentown ballot. Ronald, welcome to News You Can Use.
Thank you very much for having me.
How are you?
Very good. This is a real
How are you doing today?
To be a part of this. Any better would not be allowed.
Well, Ronald, we are so glad to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you involved in organizing in the Lehigh Valley?
Of course. I'm someone who grew up almost their entire life here in the greater Lehigh Valley, and did all my my schooling here, all my career experience here in the Lehigh Valley, and I'm someone who, when I see something that someone's suffering from an indignity or an injustice, I like to advocate around it, and try to make sure that light is brought upon any kind of situation like that, and that we as a community and as a people here in the Lehigh Valley are able to coalesce around giving everyone a fair shake and making sure that everyone has access to a dignified livelihood here in the valley.
Thanks, Ronald. Could you just tell me what issues are important to you and to your community in the Lehigh Valley?
Of course. We as people are very not so much one issued. There's like so many different complexities that happen. There's we're recently, especially during the pandemic, facing a lot of housing insecurity, right? People not being able to make ends meet. There's issues like having access to quality food sovereignty issues. There's issues of migrant laborers that are unable to have a stable knowing their rights, their labor rights, as well as not necessarily being secure in terms of their legal status. Sometimes here in the United States, driver's license is a serious issue where a lot of migrant workers don't have access to driver's license and therefore are more fearful of negative interactions with law enforcement. Health equity is another serious issue where we want to make sure that individuals that can't afford the high cost of medical care are able to access that and have access to good, high quality healthcare.
Great. Thank you, Ronald. Thank you. So I understand, you have been organizing the Lehigh Valley for a long time, and just recently, in the past few months, you took on this role of being the Lehigh Valley Stands Up organizer, right? The organizer of our local chapter there in the Lehigh Valley. And I'm wondering if you could just tell us, what are some of the big things you all are working on? What are the exciting campaigns happening in Lehigh Valley Stands Up?
Yeah, of course. Lehigh Valley Stands Up is really proud to be um, a partner, a collaborator within the Help Not Handcuffs coalition, along with other regional partners like the mainly led by the Working Families Party, along with the Abolitionist Law Center and the American Civil Liberties Union, um, and so and the DSA chapter of the Lehigh Valley, and we're just really happy to be able to work together on making sure that people that are suffering from mental health crisis, people who are homeless, people that are mislabeled as suspicious in certain neighborhoods are not um, are not addressed initially with potentially um, violent interaction um, or unnecessary interaction with law enforcement. We would actually rather um, their first initial interaction be with a mental health professional or a social worker or something like this. So we're trying to get on the city level, um, the city of Allentown to invest in mental health professionals and having a response team, one year public health pilot program created in the city that would more adequately address the needs on the ground from our most vulnerable and most marginalized sections of the city.
Wow, that is very powerful. You said the coalition is called Help Not Handcuffs, and it sounds like what you all are trying to do is invest in alternative methods of crisis intervention, right? That don't just rely on the police, right? Who sometimes can hurt more than they can help. Can you just tell me really quickly? This is a great idea. This coalition sounds really exciting. How are you all doing this? How are you going to win this campaign? What is the method? Are you hoping to pass a bill? Are you
Yeah,
what are you doing? And just give me the elevator pitch. Give me the elevator pitch.
it's the power of direct democracy, right through the power of petitioning. So we're going right to the voters, registered voters of Allentown, and letting them have their voice be heard. And so far, I would say the vast majority of individuals that I've interacted with, that the petitioners have interacted with, have been very much supportive of, um, you know, this common sense approach to addressing the the actual like situation on the ground, and not just you know the imaginary illogical arguments that are posed by some people in power.
Yeah. So I want to make sure it's clear for our listeners because they may want to get involved. So what you're telling me is that you are collecting petition signatures to get a question on the ballot, essentially, right? Where voters in Allentown will be able to cast their vote about investing in nonviolent crisis response in
Yes,
Allentown. Is
precisely.
that correct?
Yep, that's exactly correct. We're
That is very exciting. Very
we have
exciting.
weekly petition launches every Saturday from noon to 3 out of the Lehigh Valley Stands Up office located at 1416 Union Boulevard in Allentown.
Great. And I also understand that Lehigh Valley Stands Up is supporting some candidates that are running for local office. Is there anyone that Lehigh Valley Stands Up that has endorsed that you want to talk about here, that you want to lift up, that you're excited about supporting?
Oof, this is difficult. I mean, how do you get started with that conversation? Because we wouldn't have endorsed anyone that we weren't super excited about, right?
Hmm.
And each of the candidates that we've had the pleasure of endorsing, it's people that align with our values, align with our platform, and align with the need to improve living conditions for every member of our community. And I think CC Gerlach, um, a leader that had my position prior to me stepping in this role is someone who embodies just the passion, the sense of urgency on the ground that our community deserves fighters, someone to fight for them, someone to defend them against powerful interests that aren't aligned with the needs of the community. And I also would have to highlight another candidate for Allentown City Council, Serena Torres, who just brings this youthful energy that brings the same level of passion and understanding of the community's needs and aspirations that we've had the pleasure of endorsing and working closely with. And also our Northampton County candidates, Tara Zarinsky and Frank Pintabone, are leaders that try to make the city of Easton and the entirety of Northampton County a place that is accountable to the residents and the people from the grassroots.
Great. You heard it here, folks. There are people, some of them are members of Lehigh Valley Stands Up, that are running for office in Allentown, in Lehigh County, in Northampton County. Really exciting folks that you can support, can look them up, can learn more about them. Thank you, Ronald. I want to transition to talking about something that happened recently in the news, and want to get your thoughts on this. So, last week, Governor Josh Shapiro gave the annual budget address. Right, this is a thing that happens every single year. Pennsylvania has to agree upon a budget, and usually in February or March, the governor will give an address outlining the priorities for the administration. And so Governor Shapiro, our new governor, gave his speech last Tuesday where he laid out his priorities. And in that speech, he said something that I want to talk to you about. He said that he is excited to continue to support recurring funding for the whole home repair program for years to come so that people can stay in their homes. And, it was really just one or two sentences in the whole budget address. There were other things in the budget address that we won't get to today. But it felt like a really big deal that might have just been passed over had we not paused for a moment here to talk about it. I just want to give a little context, and then Ronald, I want to ask you what you think this means. So at the beginning of last year, we started working, Pennsylvania Stands Up, we started working with Senator Nikhil Saval, right, a member of Reclaim Philadelphia, who we elected. And we started working with his office on a program called the Whole Home Repairs Bill, right? This would be a bill that would provide grants of up to $50,000 for people to repair their homes, right? This isn't a loan, this is a grant. You don't have to pay it back from the government. And we thought it was a big, great idea that could actually work in really, really delivering on some results that people need in their communities. And there was a Republican-controlled House, a Republican-controlled Senate, but nevertheless, this bill was so popular, and we ran a program where we put on events across the state, where last June, we won the Whole Home Repairs Program, right? We won $125 million invested in helping people repair their homes so they can stay in their communities long term. And now we have won that campaign. We're going back this year, $125 million, while that's a big number, is actually not nearly enough. That would only be enough for about 1 to 5 people to fix their homes in each of our counties. It is really not enough to meet the need that we have here in Pennsylvania. And so what we are doing is we are coming back this year for this year's budget, and we are saying that we want $300 million invested into the Whole Home Repairs Program so that we can serve tens of people, hundreds of people in every county across Pennsylvania. And, last year we were just an organization, Senator Saval was just a senator with a big idea. And then this year, really 1 year later, you have the governor committing to it in his budget address. And I kind of just want to ask you two questions. One, what do you think it means for your community in the Lehigh Valley to pass this legislation? And what does it mean for our power as a movement for the newly elected governor to make this commitment in his first budget address? So Ronald, I'll pass it to you to react. What do you think about all this?
I would like to start just to announce that it's a very reasonable approach to addressing the housing insecurity crisis that's going on in the Lehigh Valley and throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I think it's extremely incumbent upon the governor, and I applaud him for addressing and supporting the whole home repair program, while simultaneously giving some constructive criticism that, as you had mentioned, there needs to be supplemental funding allocated to make this program as successful as it can be, and to really address the need and the need that's there. So it's all about supply and demand, right? So there's a lot of people that are demanding this, and we need the governor to respond by providing the supply of resources and funding, which is definitely feasible and definitely reasonable to ask to make, given the extent of the crisis. I think that the Pennsylvanians deserve to have this brought forward in a way that tangibly improves their living conditions and their day-to-day life. In addition to the weatherization provision that's in there to actually make things more efficient, make things better. It's really a win-win situation for everyone involved. So it's just, for me, also a case of just common sense that we would want to move forward with this. And
absolutely. And Ronald, what does it mean for our movement? What does it mean for that we can start a campaign last year and this year the governor is talking about it? What do you have any reflections to share on what that means for our movement?
It means that our movement, being that of Pennsylvanians at the grassroots level, are able to foster power, are able to foster a level of pressure to actually move things forward. And like you said, we were able to raise the concern and in a persuasive manner to members of the Pennsylvania GOP, right? And we were able to effectively advocate for the needs of our community in a way that made sense, that showed the urgency, and was able to win very important battles thus far. And we're just getting started.
We are just getting started. That is right. Our movement has real power, right? We are able to advocate for something and actually see real change, which, I know that in today's political environment, there are lots and lots of people just like us who justifiably feel hopeless, who feel like there's no way for things to get better. I can go out in the streets, I can write a letter to my representative, but it doesn't matter because nothing is going to get better. That is what a lot of people think right now, and that is actually a mindset that serves the people in power, right? If we don't think we can do anything, then we'll just throw up our hands, and the billionaires and the corporations will keep on destroying our communities. And I just want to name how unprecedented and exciting it is that we have won this campaign and are going back for more. What we did here, right? Senator Nikhil Saval introduced this legislation with the support of movement organizations, of advocacy groups, environmental groups. And if Senator Nikhil Saval did that alone, he would just be a senator from Philadelphia with a big idea. What we did is we made that program real. We brought Senator Saval to Reading, to Allentown, to Lancaster, across the state, because we know housing is not just a problem for people in Philadelphia, access to safe and secure housing. Access to housing is a problem in every single county and every single zip code in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And what we did at Pennsylvania Stands Up, because we exist across Eastern and Central Pennsylvania, is we took that message to our people, to our communities, and you know what? They agreed. They saw that what the senator from Philadelphia was proposing would also help their communities. So they went and they talked to their representatives and they got them on board. We got Republicans on board. This was a bipartisan piece of legislation in a Republican-controlled legislature. And through our strategy of having the senator and his team do the work on the inside, right, in the House, in the Senate, and then we and our coalition partners did the work on the outside, right? And we did this strategy that is sometimes called an inside-outside strategy, where there were relationships built inside, there was pressure exerted from the outside, and through those things together, we won. And I've been organizing in Pennsylvania for about 10 years, and I've never seen anything like that. And I think it is just like you said, we are just getting started, right? This is just an example of how we can operate with the amount of power that we have now as a movement of working people in Pennsylvania. So I want to ask Ronald, we're getting to the end here. At PA Stands Up, we hold certain values, right? We believe that no matter where you come from, all people deserve a home, all people deserve to make a decent living, all people deserve to feel safe and secure in their communities. And we do campaigns that actualize those values, right? The Whole Home Repair campaign, the Help Not Handcuffs campaign. This is how we show our values in the world by doing this work. And I'm just curious, Ronald, after talking about whole home repairs, something that our listeners should know is we have a week of action coming up in April, where the Senator Saval is going to be coming to our region. It's going to be coming to Allentown, to Reading, to Lancaster, to talk about whole home repairs. And Ronald, if folks wanted to get involved in the whole home repairs in the Lehigh Valley or with Pennsylvania Stands Up, how could they do that? What could they do?
Yeah, I actually would beg every member of our community throughout the Lehigh Valley to come and join us in the city of Allentown, the Queen City of Allentown, which is facing a lot of displacement in housing, a lot of, I have to give a shout out to the Allentown Tenant Association, which is fighting against slumlords, and as well as just bringing more attention to the deplorable conditions that many of our Allentown city residents are facing in the city of Allentown in terms of housing, as well as just just the unaffordable rate of housing that's going on there. On April 18th, we're partners like Make the Road Pennsylvania, Lehigh Valley Stands Up, and anyone that wants to get involved, please do. And let's get in contact. Let's make it huge. Let's make it a day that we just make it. We raise consciousness about this issue. We build the relationships that we need to build in order to coordinate this throughout the Lehigh Valley and throughout the city of Allentown.
Great. So you heard it from Ronald. We are doing this week of action, April 17th through the 20th. We'll be in Reading. We will be in Allentown. We will be in Philadelphia. We will be in Lancaster. If you want to get involved, folks that are listening, we need you to get involved. You can email Ronald at ronald@pastandsup.org. You can email our info at pastandsup.org. You can go into our social media and learn how to get involved. And that brings us to the end of our episode, our very first News You Can Use podcast. We weren't sure if we would make it this far, but we did. We are here. We made it. I want to give a huge thank you to Ronald Johnson for joining us and for that inspiring discussion about Help Not Handcuffs and whole home repair and all the great work that you all are doing in the Lehigh Valley. We truly hope that this is news that people can use. So thank you, Ronald, for joining us. If you enjoyed our show, please rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening to this, whether it is Spotify or another one. Be sure to come back in 2 weeks where we're going to find out who is on the ballot where you live. Who are the candidates that we are excited about supporting? Until then, this is Pele IrgangLaden. And don't forget, Pennsylvania is for all of us. This podcast was created by PA Stands Up. It was produced by Dr. Ashley Strange using Riverside FM tool, hosted by me, Pele IrgangLaden, and researched by the News You Can Use volunteer comms team at Pennsylvania Stands Up. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, watch live on Facebook and YouTube, and sign up for the accompanying newsletter at pastandsup.org. See you in the streets.